Hi students. In previous class, we have discussed about Python flavors. We have discussed. So we have seen what are the different implementations of Python. So in Python flavors, we have discussed about C Python, J Python, Iron Python, then Ruby Python, Anaconda Python, Stackless Python. All these we have discussed. So in Python language, default implementation is C Python. So if any student is learning Python, then it is called as default is a C Python, we'll say. So C Python contains C header files or C libraries, and Python files or Python modules will be there. So C Python is default and most widely used implementation of the language. So anywhere Python implementation means C Python is used. So if you are downloading Python software and if you are using it, so then it is C Python. So in previous session, I've told very clearly about all these. Those who have missed previous 1-2 classes, you can watch the videos in YouTube, or else you can talk to online team. They will send you the link so that you can watch the previous sessions videos. So once if you register for the class, once if you join for the classes, then I will send you the videos online, like whatever classes happen. I'll send you the videos and notes also. I'll send to your mail IDs. So today we are going to discuss about features of Python, and in next class we are going to discuss about like installation of Python, then data types. Like all these, we are going to see one by one. We are going to discuss. So we'll continue with features of Python. So here in Python features, first one is easy to learn and easy to use is there. So when we say about Python language, so Python is for beginners, like those who want to learn Python. So anyone can learn Python. So without having any programming knowledge or without knowing C language basics, then students can learn Python. They can learn. So it is easy to learn because whatever syntaxes are there in Python, we can remember the syntaxes, we can write the code, and then we can like whatever rules and regulations are there in the language. Like every programming language has certain rules. So Python rules we can easily follow. Okay, and easy to use means after learning Python, if you want to develop applications or if you want to develop projects, then developing applications or projects is also easy. And it is called as a friendly language. So friendly language means students can understand that language and they can write the code. Like all these is done. And next one is here expressive language is there here. So here when we say expressive language, so it is more understandable and it is more readable. We are saying here. So more understandable means the whatever statements that are given, we can understand what is the meaning of the statements. Then readability also will be there here, like whatever words that we use regularly or frequently, so those words we can use and we can uh, access here. Okay, so Python is more understandable and it is more readable. And here coming to this third point here, so here we can say cross platform language. So as I told in previous demos, like Python is platform independent and also it is machine independent. So Python is platform independent at development and also at production. Okay, so Python is development. Python is platform independent at development means while learning Python, while practicing Python, or while developing applications in Python, then we can use any operating system. So because Python Software Foundation or Python community, so here I'm typing python.org. So here in Python, this site, so here you can see Python Software Foundation or Python community. So they have developed Python for Windows, Python for Unix, Python for Linux, then Python for like AS400 for Mac OS. Like Python software is developed for different operating systems. So here you can see download latest version for Windows. So looking for Python with different operating systems like Windows, Unix, Linux, then Mac OS and other operating systems. Okay, so while using Python software or Python language, we can use any operating system. And Python applications can be developed. Python applications can be executed in any operating system. Like for example, if I develop Python application in Windows, if I develop Python project or application in Windows, that Python application will run in other operating systems. So without doing any changes or without doing any modifications. So without any modifications, it is going to execute. So how it will run in another operating system or else in another machine is if Python virtual machine is installed, if PVM is installed, then it will automatically works with it will automatically works in Python application in Python in other operating systems it will works. So that system may have any OS, it may have any CPU architecture. So configuration may be different. It will works. Okay, and here Python is platform independent at development and at production, and also it is machine independent. Python applications works in any machine. So with different CPU architectures also it will works. And here when we say about Unix and Linux, so Python works in any flavor of Unix or any flavor of Linux, it will work. So in Python we have discussed about flavors. Okay, in Linux we can see different flavors. In Unix we can see different flavors here. Okay, so here when we say about Unix flavors, here you can see Sun Solaris, then IBM AX, then HP UX, then AT&T system VR4, then BSD Unix, DEC Unix is there, Mac OS X, SCO Unix. So in all these flavors, Python software will work, Python language. Python language will work, and Python applications also will work. And here Python software works in different flavors of Unix or Linux. Here you can see it works in any flavor of Linux, like Ubuntu, Fedora, Linux Mint, OpenSUSE, PC Linux OS, Debian, Mandriva, Sabian, or Gentoo, all these are there. So in all these flavors, Python software or Python language and Python applications will work. So now I'm using Python in Windows I'm using. So I'm using Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Professional I'm using, and it is 64-bit Windows. Okay, so in real time in companies, like they may not suggest to use Windows as operating system. Okay, because in companies, if they want to use Windows, they have to buy the license software of Windows and they have to use it. Okay, so instead of Windows, they may use Ubuntu or Fedora, like Linux flavors are there. So Ubuntu, Fedora, these are like free operating systems. So in companies, like in most of the companies, like they may use Ubuntu or Fedora, and in that, in like Python software is installed and it is used. Okay, so Python software or Python language and the Python applications works in any flavor of Unix or any flavor of Linux operating system. They'll work. And here, fourth one is there, that is free, open source, and redistribution. So Python software is free software. So we can download and we can use it. Like how we download in our systems in IT companies also, they will download like that and they'll use it. And it is open source also. Open source means we can open the Python files and we can see what code they wrote, like what functions they have created. So source is open means code is open. Like they are not hiding the modules what they are creating. Okay, so we can see, and it is the code can be customizable, so we can customize the code. Customization is done. Okay, so here while working with this Python software, like customization is allowed here. Like for example, you all now learning Python, so core and advanced Python will take 2 months to finish. So I'm going to take Python for 2 months. So within 2 months, core Python chapters, advanced Python chapters, I'll complete. So within 2 months, students will learn what is there in Python, what modules are there, what modules are there. Okay, then will students will learn what functions are there, all this. So when student joins for as a fresher in companies, whatever the student learns in the class, he is going to implement, student is going to implement in the projects. In a first project, we can say first live or real time projects. So while learning the course and while doing their first project, then if the candidate says I want to know what is not there in I want to know what is not there in Python, what is missing in Python. So not possible. Learning will takes time. Again, implementation also will takes time. So in the beginning only, if somebody says what is not there in Python, I want to know. Like this is not possible. So those who are having 3 4 years real-time experience, or those who are having like a project real-time project experience, then those are working as a software analyst, or those are working as a manager in project manager in companies. So those who are in top position, like on Python projects. Okay, so they'll be knowing what is not there in Python, what is missing, like which code they have to customize it. Like if the code is not according to their requirements in the project, they can customize, they can do changes. So like for example, if they do changes, then that the modified code they can use in their project and they can give it to others. Those are working on the Python projects with same requirements. If the requirement is same, they can use the modified code or customized code, they can use it. So here the same thing is written here. So Python source code can be distributed to others. Those are working on Python projects, and if the requirement is same, then they can use it. And here you can see next point I'm telling here. So here, when we say about Python software, or when we say about Python language, when we say about this Python language, I'm saying that Python is a powerful language, or Python is a great software. Different words I used to use. So students will be knowing, want to know like what exactly this Python is, what language it is. Okay, so here when we say about Python, it is called as a scripting language. Python is called a scripting language, And here we can see many other scripting languages are there. Many other scripting languages are there. Like we can say shell scripting, then Perl, then PHP, then Python, TCL, TK, VB script, JavaScript, and PowerShell, Ruby on Rails. Like all these are existing. Okay, so here all these are the scripting languages. So Python is a scripting language, and Python supports the features of other programming languages. Like when you are working with Python, it supports the features of other programming languages. Here you can see on the screen, Python supports procedure-oriented programming, like C language. How we do programming in C language, here also we'll do it in the same way. And Python is object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language means like what we do in C++ and in Java. In Python also we'll do it in the same way. So in advanced Python, one chapter is there, object-oriented programming. So in that, students will learn what is a class, what is an object, and what are OOPS concepts like encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, then data abstraction, all these. And also we'll discuss about static function overloading, then we'll discuss about constructors, then inheritance, function overriding, operator overloading, garbage collection, constructors, destructors, like all these we are going to discuss. So students, if you don't know anything about object-oriented programming, so in our classes we are going to discuss in detail, very clearly about each and every concept. And here you can see scripting language is there here. So Python supports scripting language features like shell scripting, Perl, all these are there. And Python supports modular programming also, modular programming. So there is a language called Module 3. Like students, you may not heard about this language. Module 3 language is there. It is modular programming. So we are going to create modules. Okay, so in modular programming, when we create modules, it can have variables, functions, then properties, classes, like all these we can create. Okay, and here Python supports the features of all these C, C++, like procedure-oriented programming, object-oriented programming, scripting, modular programming. So in Python, we are going to create modules we are going to create in Python. From the beginning, we'll do that. So in Python, module means Python file or Python program is called as module. So in that module, we are going to in that module we are going to create, in that file we can say, we are going to create properties, variables, functions, classes, like all these we can create. So if Python is supporting the features of all these, then students may think then learning Python would be difficult. Even after supporting the features of all these languages, so Python is now also I'm saying the same words. Python is beginner's language, and Python is user friendly. It is easy to learn and it is easy to use. Okay, implementation is also easy here. So we'll see how to work with all these languages, like features, language features, all these. So here, when you are developing live or real-time projects, so if you are developing projects in Python or else in DJANGO, so DJANGO is a framework, and it is used for developing websites. And DJANGO is completely developed in Python. In Python, it is developed. Okay. So while working with live or real-time projects in Python or Python related the courses or Python related projects also, like there we have to implement object-oriented programming. Okay, we have to create like in there, what we should do is in live or real-time projects, we have to implement object-oriented programming. So when object-oriented programming is implemented, then it contains security, flexibility, and reusability will be there. So that application or project will get security, flexibility, and reusability will be there. So security is not related to data or information. Security is related to the code, given in the project. So the code in the project is will have security, and the flexibility also is there. So flexibility means that code we can use with other languages code, with other programs code we can integrate. So cross language communication will be there. Okay, and it is having a reusability also. In object oriented programming we can see reusability, like we can see single here when we say about reusability, like in object oriented programming, inheritance is there. So, like when we say about inheritance, single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, hybrid inheritance, like all these are there. All these can be used. Okay, so like whatever applications we are creating, whatever projects we are creating in Python or Python related courses, those projects will get security, flexibility, and reusability related to the code, so that we can see. And here next is memory management is there here. So while working with Python, so memory is managed automatically. Automatically, we can manage the memory here. So when we are working with other programming languages, so if you are working with C, C++, so if you are working with C, C++, Java, .NET, all these are called as strongly typed languages. Okay, so when we say about like C, C++, Java, and when we say about .NET, they are called as strongly typed languages. So according to the given data type, according to the declared data type, so memory is allocated, and values are used in the, so values are used in memory here. Values are used. Okay, so when we are working with other languages, like programmers should know about what all data types are there, how many bytes they are going to use. Okay, and like how many, what value it can store, what is the range of the value. All these they should know. Okay, like for example, if I in C language, if I give like this int a, and here I'll say char s of 20, and here float b is given here. Char s of 20 and float b is given. So in C language, we'll declare like this. Okay. So here you can see int a is given. So in variable a, we can store integer value, and for integer value, it preserves 2 bytes in the memory. It preserves 2 bytes. So this int works as int 16. So int 16 means it is given in bits. So 8 bits is equal to 1 byte. Like bits means zeros and ones. Okay. So here we'll say 8 bits is equal to 8 bits is equal to 1 byte. So int 16 means 2 bytes it will take. So here integer variable int data type will preserve 2 bytes in the memory. Okay. So here if I declare int a, then in variable a we can store integers. So can I in variable a can I store characters? In variable a can I store characters? No, it is not possible. We cannot store, because it is what strongly typed. Strongly typed means According to the given data type, we have to store similar values. So we cannot store some other values or some other information we cannot store. Okay. So char s of 20 means we can store characters here. Even if I give numbers, it will store in character format only. And here you can see float b is given. So b is for here you can see char s of 20 means it will preserve 20 bytes for 20 characters, and float b means it is used to store used to store float b means for to store decimal values, it will preserve 4 bytes. It is going to preserve. Okay, so those are working with C, C++, Java, .NET. So they have to use data types in the code, in the program. So they have to use data types. They have to declare variables, and they have to know how many bytes it is going to preserve, what values we have to store, what is the range of the values, all this. Okay, so when you are working with Python here, it is called as a loosely typed language. So it is called as loosely typed language. Okay, so loosely typed language means we are not going to use data types in the program. So we are not going to use data types in Python, in core Python, in advanced Python, in DJANGO. So wherever you are writing Python code, okay, wherever Python code is there, their data types are not used. Okay, we'll give variables, we'll declare variables, and we'll give the statements. All these we are going to do it. Okay, but data types in Python language, data types are there. Data types are there, like operators are there, if condition is there, for loop is there, while loop is there. But data types are assigned by the program. So we are not going to give data types to the variables. Programmers will not give data types to the variables. Okay, program will assign data types to the variables at runtime. Okay, other languages data types are called static data types, like C, C++, Java, .NET. Data types are called static data types. Like static means at the compilation time, variables are assigned, values are assigned to the at compilation time, then data types are assigned to the variables. Okay, so in coming to this Python, Python data types are called dynamic data types, because the data types are assigned to the variables when the program is executed, when the program is executed, or when the data type is or when the data type is when the program is executed, or when the statements are executed, that data type is assigned to the variables. Okay, so Python data types are called dynamic data types. So what I said before is, when the program is executed or when the statements are executed, data types are assigned to the variables. And here, while working with data types here in Python, we can see like data types like int, float, bool, str, complex. All these data types are there. Like for example, in Python, if I give like this, a equal to 100, will not give data type here. Int a will not write, just variable name and value. A equal to 100. And here if I say int a, if I give int, if I give like this, then it can be, it is int data type only. A is int. So it can be int 32, or it can be int 64. It can be int 64 here. Okay. So int 32 or int 64 is given here. Okay, so here when we say about int 32, like Python software is available in 2 bits, Python 32-bit and Python 64-bit. In 2 bits it is available. So as I told before, I'm using Windows 10 64-bit. I'm using 64-bit, and here Yeah, in my system, Python 32-bit is there here. So here Python, so here 32-bit I'm using. So here right click on PC. So here when I right click on my PC or computer, so here you can see here operating system is 64-bit operating system. So it is giving like this 64-bit OS. And here Python. So here when I type like this, it is showing like this. Here you can see ideally Python 3.9 32-bit. So in 64-bit Windows, I'm using Python 32-bit software I'm using. 64-bit also I can use. Python 64-bit only is recommended. So we may use a Python 32-bit or 64-bit, like chapters, then modules, functions, all this is same. Coding is same here. Coding is same. Okay, but only memory usage difference will be there. Memory usage difference. And here when we are using, if I say like this, in A equal to 100, then in my system it will use a int 32 because I'm using Python 32-bit software. Int 32 it will use. Okay, so then int 32 means it will preserve 4 bytes. And if I'm using if I'm using Python 64-bit I'm using, then it will uses 64-bit. It will when I say int 64. So when I say int 64, then in that case, then it will uses 8 bytes in the memory. 8 bytes it is going to use. So only in bytes difference we'll see, not in coding or modules or functions. So we'll not see the difference. So here when Python is installed here, in next class we'll see how to install Python software. All we are going to see next session. So when Python software is installed, here we'll get two icons here. So this is interactive mode and this is batch mode. So interactive mode means every line is executed immediately and then it will give the result. So to check the features of Python, like how the modules are working, how the functions are working, this is used. Okay. And here you can see ideally is there here. So ideally means integrated development learning environment is there. Ideally integrated development learning environment. Okay, so this is used to write the programs and to run the programs. Ideally we can use. So now I'm doing double click on interactive mode. So here when I click on interactive mode, here we'll get like this. So here you can see the prompt here, like three greater than symbols is there. So it is like a C prompt or SQL prompt it is. So here we can type the commands, we can execute the statements here. So here I'll say S equal to Hyderabad is given. So S is a variable, Hyderabad is a value, string or value. So it is given in single quotes, or else in double quotes also we can use. But I'm not giving data type for S. So we are not going to give data types to the variables. Program will give data types, or Python will assign data types to the variables here. So now if I say S, then it is giving like this. So here it is giving the value with the single quotations. With a single quotes, it is giving here. So without single quotes, if you want to display the values here, I'll say print S is given. So print S. So here Hyderabad is given here. Hyderabad is given, and here if I want to know what is the data type of S, here I'll say type of S. So it is showing as class str it is giving. So str is assigned to this variable s. Okay, and here while working with this class str here. Okay, so what all data types are there in Python? All the data types are classes only. They are created using class. So those who know object-oriented programming, you will be knowing about what is a class, what is an object, all these. Okay. So in object-oriented programming, so when we say class contains variables and functions. So variables are used to store values, and the functions are used to perform operations. So whenever you want to perform operations, then we can use functions. Functions can be so whenever you want to perform operations like accepting values, displaying values, or doing calculations, functions are used. So if a class is there with variables and functions, if a class is created, then we can create object. We can create. So we can create object. So we can do that. Object can be created. Okay. So here while working with this data types, while working with class, object is created. It will have different names. So object can be called as a class variable or instance of the class. Instance means copy of the class. Or we can say that like object means while working with object, it contains a memory address or memory location of the class. Or we can say object and class both are same. Object will always refers to class. All these names are there. Okay. So here what I'm saying is, by using a class, what we can create? Object we can create. Object means it is nothing but a variable. So we can create a variable can be created here. Okay. So here you can say class str it is giving. And now here I'll give values here. A equal to 10, B equal to 5, C equal to A plus B. And here print C is given. So here we are giving the values, and here we are displaying here. And here if I say, so type of A is given here. If I want to know what is the data type of A or B or C, then here you can say class int it is giving here. Okay. So for A and B and C, data type is int only. Based on the values what we give, then data type is assigned automatically to the variables. Okay. So here I'm just executing the statements, and here I'm showing like how the data type is assigned internally to the variables. So other languages like C, C++, Java, .NET are strongly typed languages. Python will call it as a loosely typed language. So according to the given data type, memory is so in Python here, based on the values we give, data types are assigned to the variables. So in Python, programmer is not assigning data types to the variables. Program is assigning data types to the variables here. So assigning the variables is done at runtime. That's why we are calling it as a Python data types as a dynamic data types. So in Python, programmers need not focus on memory management, because memory is used by the program. Okay. So here memory management, here we cannot while working with this uh, Python here, memory is while working with Python, no need to focus on memory management here, because internally data types are assigned and the values are stored. All these happens internally. But in other languages, we have to focus on like data types. Then all these will be there. So students, these are the important features related to Python. And after this, we have to discuss about Python installation, interactive mode, batch mode. All these are there. So students, I'm stopping now. And tomorrow I'm not taking class. And next class is on Monday. Okay, so why I'm not taking class tomorrow is online team, they may add new students in Monday class. So new students may join. That's why I'm giving a break tomorrow. So next class is on Monday. So Monday we are going to continue with installation, interactive mode, batch mode. All these we are going to discuss. And those who are not yet registered, please talk to online team, register for this course. Then I can send you the videos, recorded sessions. I'll send, and I will send the notes to your mail IDs. Okay, students. So if you want to ask anything, any doubts are there, you can talk to me. Okay, students, I'm signing off.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Sir, can you please explain the sixth point, memory management? So, how is Python different from other languages in memory? Can you
Because we
please
are
repeat?
not because in other languages we'll use data types. See, in C language we'll give like this. In the beginning of the program we'll declare variables using data types. In Python we'll not give like this. In Python we'll write like this: a equal to 100 or s equal to Hyderabad, like this. So we are not going to use data types. In C language we'll use data types like this. In Python will not use data types because data types are assigned internally to the variables. Program will assign data types to the variables. We are not going to use. Okay, but in C language, in C++, in Java, and in .NET, we have to know what all data types are there, like how many bytes they are going to use, what value we should store, and what is the range of the values. All these we should have idea. Okay, then we can
Oh,
work with. But here in Python, data types are assigned internally to the variables. No need to focus on memory management, like how many bytes it will use. Okay, all these are no need to focus. Just giving the values. Internally, data types are assigned to the variables that we saw now here. Here you can see S equal to Hyderabad is given. I didn't give data type, but it is
okay.
assigned internally, like that. Here you can see. A equal to 10 is given. I didn't give data type, but data type is assigned internally to the variables. So to see what data type is assigned to the variables in Python, we are using type function. Using type function, we are seeing what data type is assigned to the variables because we are not giving data types. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, students. Monday will continue.